Hi, this is Phil and Trish from SkiTalk.com, and we've got a review of the Kastle K100P boot for 2023-24. Now, last year, Kastle did a soft introduction of their boots into the market. They started with the higher-end boots, and I did a review of the K120P, and they also have a 130. They've got their race boots also, but we're going to talk about today is the K100P, which is the entry level of their boot collection, but by no means an entry level boot in design.
Absolutely not. I'll tell you my first impressions of it is I normally have a checklist of things that I do to boots when I get a new boot in, and this boot, all I really had to do is drop my footbed into it and put it on, and I realized that there's a lot of work I typically have to do in the forefoot of a boot that I did not have to do in this boot. One of the things that my mom gave me in life was her bunion, and I tend to have to do a bunion punch. I didn't in this, but the really amazing thing is the heel pocket. I almost struggled to get my foot in the boot, and I had to kind of work it around to get into the heel pocket because it's got such a nice cup in there. But the second my heel is seated in the boot, it just felt beautifully locked in and super comfortable around my heel and my ankle, while giving me that room in the forefoot where I can have room for my toes to wiggle a little bit and no pressure on my bunion or my sixth toe.
Now, you say you have a checklist of things that you have to do with the boot. You're a boot fitter.
Yes.
You spend a lot of time on your own boots, and also we deal with a lot of people on their boots too. So you have a lot of experience. You're not coming into this blind in how this boot fits.
Not in any manner at all.
So, and again, both of us being boot fitters, one of the things that duly impressed me, like I said, as an entry-level boot, but as a 100 flex boot, is the quality that we see in this boot. I mean, this is on par with some manufacturers' higher-end boots. And to be honest with you, as a boot fitter, I don't believe in price points of boots. I think a 100 flex boot should have the same quality as a 130 or high-end boot, because a lighter person, just because they might be lighter doesn't mean they need less of a boot. And Kastle did a really good job with this boot. You know, we've got a bunch of extra parts out here that really show that. In the design of the boot, we've got pulls both on the front, on the tongue, and also on the heel. We've got, obviously, a removable spoiler on it. Trish talks about a snug heel pocket. Take a look at the liner. This is all Velcro on the back because they include an additional H-pad here that goes on the back if you need even a snugger heel pocket also, which again holds that in a little bit further. The other difference that we see is how many 100 flex boots do we see that are set up for laces. So, and that's what the laces come in the box. We've got our little hoops on here. So if you do want that nth degree of a fit. Now, in this 100 flex boot, there's some similarities with their higher end boots. This is their performance liner. This is the Performance Plus liner. Basically, the difference is that this one here has a stitched in tongue, which for the majority of the people are going to be fine. Where the H-pad here just velcros in the back. When we get into the higher end boots, it also does come into the laces on the front. That's basically the only differences. But we also, where most manufacturers now with their boots are going to just having grip walk standard on the boots, the ISO 23223 soles on it, which we see on here. Kastle still includes the traditional DIN soles if you are using that too.
Yep. And, you know, like you said, the liner quality, when I pulled the liner out to put my footbeds in, I was really impressed with the liner. It's pretty rare that under a 110 flex boot you see a liner of this quality, because as they go down in those price points or down in the flexes, they just try to make it more affordable, and that's great in that aspect. However, the person who is getting into a 95 or 100 flex boot may need or may have the desire to have a quality liner.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And again, even some of the other aspects of it, where again, in this price point, most of the buckles are riveted on. These are all on with torque screws on it. Everything come off of it. It is a heat moldable liner. It does not have a cuff alignment on it on the cuff, but it is a heat moldable shell, so you can actually play with that, some of that cuff alignment by heating the shell. And they've got this really nifty little buckle design in your forefoot area. Again, bow is all the word for a lot of manufacturers for this coming season, but we have this releasable tab here, which actually makes that lower buckle easier to take on and off. Now, for you folks that are at Kastle, we'd love to see this feature on the cuff buckle also, where we are using a little more force.
Hey, you stole my line. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When the first time I played with this, I went, that's really awesome, but I really only finger tighten these buckles, but I palm tighten and really snug these up. This feature is something I'd love to see on these top two buckles.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Yeah. We again, a lot of emphasis has been focused lately on the clog of the boot and those buckles down there. But again, like Trish said, I'd love to see that on our upper buckles on the boot also.
Or instead of.
Or instead of, yeah. So as far as that, but as far as a 100 flex boot, we've got probably some of the best features on the boot here.
So the other thing that stood out to me, again, we were starting out with my first impressions, is that this is a solid power strap. It's a nice wide power strap. You're able to cinch it back here, really snug. You know, obviously the release is really handy, but it's pretty rare in a 100 flex boot that you have this. Normally it's just that regular Velcro strap that doesn't really do a lot for you. Really impressed with that. They really they didn't get stingy at all with the features on this boot.
No, I don't think there's any shortcomings at all, or shortcuts made on the boot at all. And I think you were saying that you said they hit it out of the park, a home run.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's the biggest thing for me was being able to put my foot in there, have a snug heel and room for my forefoot. There are so many times that I fit a boot for somebody that has a low volume heel and ankle that I end up doing a ton of work in the forefoot of the boot. So this is a great option if you're that person and you don't want your heel moving around and you're going to be solid in the boot. And I just think that they did so many things right with this. Yeah. So
again, solid home run here. With the higher end boots, the K1 2130, I said it was a really good stand-up triple. The only thing, the area that I think they missed on was as far as the design on the soles, that they are not Cantology compatible. That we do not have a canting ability for these shells yet, and we're hoping to see something come out soon.
That would be my one takeaway as well, because I do usually get my boots canted.
Yeah. So that's one thing, Kastle folks out there, we'd like to see some canting ability on that, even if it's a cantable sole, whatever we can do to make the boot a little more. That's the only thing that's really, I think, missing of being 100% boot fitter friendly. So, but a solid home run here as a 100 flex boot. Good stand-up triple over here with the higher end boots. But I think overall, again, we say you don't pick a boot, boot picks you. But if you're looking for a boot that is a high-performance boot, a lighter person that are looking for that solid race fit without having to go to a race boot, I think you've got a great option here. Work with your boot fitters. We're going to see these boots in specialty shops. This is going to be a fun boot for your feet because skiing is fun.
Hi, this is Wayne Wong, and remember, skiing is fun, especially the long way.
If you enjoyed this informative video, hit that bell, subscribe so that you'll stay up to date on the new videos, and check out SkiTalk.com for more ski-related content.
Also, please follow SkiTalk.com on all of your social media channels.
No posts or comments were moderated during the production of this video.